Instead, imagine leaning in close as he flips the script on everything you thought you understood about his offbeat style and oddball delivery. Along the way, he's navigated the shadows of Hollywood, drawing lines between personal pain and the characters that haunt the screen. Early in his career, a single night aboard a yacht would entangle him in a story so mysterious, it still sends ripples through the rumor mill decades later. Friends say he carries that secret like a private badge, a whisper behind his trademark half-smile. Despite the chaos of fame, he's protected his private world with an almost stubborn silence, leaving colleagues guessing at what really drives his choices. Away from the camera, his home life is a mystery. He's fiercely devoted to his long marriage, claims he shops for groceries himself, and will disappear for hours into the woods near his country house. Sometimes, when pressed, he hints at the cost of a life lived entirely in the public gaze, describing the loneliness that can creep in behind the applause. What most never suspect is how much of his on-screen darkness comes from real loss and unspoken doubts, threads woven years before anyone called out action. Growing up in Asteria, Queens, New York City, Christopher Walken was born on March 31, 1943. His early years reflect a blend of cultures, as his mother, Rosalie Russell, brought Scottish heritage to the family from Glasgow, while his father, Paul Walken, hailed from Gelsenkirchen in Germany. The Walken family roots were planted firmly in their neighborhood, where they ran Walken's Bakery. The daily routines around the bakery likely shaped much of young Christopher's upbringing, filling his childhood with a sense of fresh bread and pastries while he watched his parents work together to support their household. Another defining aspect of his early days was the family's Methodist faith, which shaped the ways they celebrated, gathered, and related to their community. With a home influenced by Scottish and German traditions and surrounded by the bustling, diverse character of Asteria, Walken's formative years were a mix of hard work, cultural richness, and familial devotion in a close-knit neighborhood. Growing up, Walken wasn't alone in finding himself drawn to the world of acting. His brothers, Kenneth and Glenn, followed a similar path, becoming child actors too. This wasn't just a coincidence. Their mother had a powerful dream of seeing her sons become stars. Driven by her ambitions, she put her boys on stage and in front of cameras very early, shaping much of Walken's future. When he was 15, Walken's life took another turn after seeing a photo of Elvis Presley in a magazine. The image of Elvis struck him deeply, making a lasting impression. To Walken, Elvis looked like a Greek god, impossibly stylish and cool. Once Walken watched Elvis on TV, he became completely obsessed. It wasn't just the music, it was the entire presence and energy that captured his imagination, from the way Elvis moved to the confidence he showed on stage. From that moment, Walken decided to model himself after the singer. He even changed his hairstyle to match Elvis' slick-back look, adopting it as part of his own identity. Decades have passed, but he has kept that hairstyle ever since, holding on to something that inspired him as a teenager and continuing to let it shape the way he presents himself to the world. Looking back at his early path, Christopher Walken's choices might seem surprising, considering how iconic his career became. When he was still a teenager, his life took a curious turn with a rather unusual job, foreshadowing the originality he would later bring to the screen. As he grew a bit older, Walken enrolled at Hofstra University, a well-regarded school in New York. Yet, his time there was brief. He spent just a single year studying before something more thrilling came along, a role in the off-Broadway show Best Foot Forward. The lure of acting had already planted its seeds in him, and this opportunity felt too real to let pass by. What made this role even more special was that he starred alongside a young, up-and-coming Liza Minnelli, who was already showing signs of her own remarkable talent. For Walken, the excitement of a live show and the camaraderie with other rising stars made university studies seem distant and less compelling. He faced the classic fork in the road, one path leading to more academic routine and the other to the unpredictable stage. Without much hesitation, Walken chose to leave college after only a year. This decision would set him on a path into the world of acting, firmly committing himself to the craft at an age when many are still figuring out what they want to do. His time at Hofstra may have been short, but the show with Minnelli left an imprint, boosting his confidence and introducing him to the life of a performer. It was that early leap, from college student to professional actor, that launched Walken as he made his way, step by step, into the heart of the entertainment world, already demonstrating willingness to take risks and follow his instincts. Growing up, Christopher Walken found his first passion not in acting, but in dance. Long before he became known for his unique screen presence, He was learning the discipline and grace that come with dance training at the Washington Dance Studio. Those early years were filled with hours at the bar, mastering balance and movement, laying the groundwork for a lifelong love of performance. His path to the arts was not straightforward. Coming from a bakery in Asteria, where he spent time in a hard-working family environment, Walken's life could have taken a very different turn. Yet, the world of dance called to him, providing both an outlet and a foundation. Dance brought him on stage, and, as his interest grew, he gradually navigated his way from dance-focused roles toward acting. Theater became his next classroom, and he began to take stage roles that let him explore characters and narratives, carrying over the poise and timing learned in the studio. This combination of dance discipline and dramatic experimentation became part of his unique style. Eventually, acting became his primary focus, and he transitioned from the footlights of Broadway to the bright lights of film. The skills he gained during his time as a dancer never left him. They shaped the rhythm and physicality he brought to every role. Walken's journey was filled with unexpected moments, a mix of physical rigor, creative challenge, and persistence. Each new opportunity, whether on stage or on screen, seemed to build on his early dance training and the values learned in his childhood neighborhood. His story is one of steady transformation, moving from one artistic world to another, constantly adapting and never standing still. Ironically, Christopher Walken's first steps onto the stage were not in a famous film or grand production, but as a young boy appearing as an extra in a variety of television shows throughout the 1950s. In that era, television was just beginning to shape how stories were told to a mass audience, and Walken was there, a small part of its beginnings. He found his earliest inspiration during an appearance on the Colgate Comedy Hour, a variety show popular at the time. In this episode, he was featured in a sketch with the comedy duo Martin and Lewis. This single moment, filled with laughter, quick dialogue, and the excitement behind the scenes, left him fascinated with the craft of performance. Watching the way Martin and Lewis played off each other, Christopher Walken understood the thrill of entertaining an audience and the joys of live comedy. After that day on set, he knew he wanted to become an actor. This early experience gave him a first-hand taste of the excitement of show business and introduced him to the world of television before he became the well-known actor he is today. Careful observation of more established performers on those sets taught him the subtle details of timing, physical comedy, and how to remain present while the lights and cameras were rolling. Step by step, the first chapters of Walken's long and eventful career started with those brief moments on the small screen, when he was just a boy with big dreams and a talent that the world would eventually see. Soon after stepping into show business as a young man, Christopher Walken, credited as Ronnie Walken during these early years, landed a significant opportunity in television with a regular role on the 1953 series Wonderful John Acton. In that show, he played the character Kevin Acton, and his face quickly became recognizable to viewers. His charm and on-screen talent made him a regular presence on television throughout the following years. Not content with just television, he also turned to the theater, often sharing the stage with his brother, Glenn. This partnership added an extra dimension to his career, helping him gain valuable experience in front of live audiences, while building a strong reputation in both mediums. Expanding his television success, he played Michael Bauer on the popular soap opera The Guiding Light, which brought him daily exposure and deepened his skills as an actor through the show's demanding pace. His run on this soap opera helped solidify his standing as a reliable talent in the entertainment industry. Continuing to branch out, in 1963, he showed up as a guest star in the respected crime drama Naked City, further demonstrating his range and adaptability. With each role, whether it was a recurring television character, a soap opera presence, or a guest appearance, Walken gained more experience and built on his reputation as a familiar and versatile face in American entertainment during that time. Growing up as Ronald Walken, he was always known to friends and family as Ronnie. That was the name he carried from his earliest days, a familiar and warm nickname that fit the boy he was. Yet when destiny stepped in one evening in 1964, everything changed. During the early days of his career, while working as a backup dancer for the striking Belgian cabaret singer Monique van Voren, a simple suggestion sparked a transformation that would help shape the star the world would come to know. Monique, with her flair for performance and sense for what suits the stage, thought Ronnie didn't have quite the right resonance. Something about that name just didn't feel fitting for the young performer she shared the limelight with. In a moment of creative decisiveness, Monique dubbed him Christopher, a name she felt captured something deeper and more striking about his character and presence. Without hesitation, he accepted her idea and began introducing himself as Christopher, setting aside his early nickname for a new identity that felt, somehow, more right. From that day forward, Christopher Walken became not only his stage name, but also the name by which the greater world would know him. Yet, underneath the bright lights and the larger-than-life persona that followed, he kept a piece of his past close. Professionally, Christopher became his identity, the face and name on billboards, cast lists, and interviews. Privately, the people closest to him, those who knew the shy child and the devoted son, still call him Ronnie. Despite the formal change and the acclaim that followed, Chris is what he prefers in casual company, bridging the gap between his old and new selves. This small story of a name change, prompted by an insightful performer during a chance collaboration, marks a personal turning point that would help define his unique persona, binding together friendship, intuition, and reinvention in a way that only happens in real life. During his time on Broadway, Walken demonstrated a rich ability to embody challenging characters, most notably when he took the stage as King Philip of France in The Lion in Winter in 1966. The subtle but commanding presence he brought to the role lingered with audiences, showcasing his gift for blending regal dignity with emotional intensity. Afterwards, Walken's journey in theater led him beyond the streets of New York to Canada. At the prestigious Stratford Festival, he appeared in two of Shakespeare's most enduring plays. In A Midsummer Night's Dream, he contributed to the magical, sometimes chaotic world of Shakespeare's comedy, blending whimsy with emotional insight. During the same festival, Walken also took part in Romeo and Juliet, a production filled with passion, heartbreak, and the volatile spirit of youth. His performances highlighted a profound understanding of classical works, as he moved seamlessly between the humor and complexity required for A Midsummer Night's Dream, and the drama and tragedy at the heart of Romeo and Juliet. Walken's work at the Stratford Festival served not only as a testament to his versatility, but also as foundational steps in a career that later spanned decades, crossing genres and continents, shaped by his early encounters with important stage roles. Every time he stepped under stage lights, whether as nobility or a character in the world of fantasy or star-crossed love, audiences witnessed a young performer already mastering the kinds of roles that would define his legacy and captivate theatergoers for years to come. Starting his journey in film, Christopher Walken first appeared in Me and My Brother in 1969. During this early phase of his career, he wasn't just limited to featured roles in films. Alongside his film debut, he also gained valuable experience in television movies such as Barefoot in Athens and The Three Musketeers. Exploring roles in made-for-TV films gave Walken a chance to show his ability to adapt to different characters and styles. Moreover, his guest appearance on the well-known show Hawaii Five-0 brought further attention to his growing versatility as an actor. In that guest spot, viewers could see his talent moving from stage to screen seamlessly. He handled his TV roles with the same careful skill that would later define his work in movies, proving he could tackle serious and lighter material alike. Throughout these early appearances, his range, moving from intense, dramatic scenes to more subtle, character-driven moments, helped establish him as a unique and memorable presence in both film and television. At this time, casting directors and audiences alike were noticing how, even in supporting roles, Walken's performances lingered long after the credits rolled, suggesting the depth he would eventually bring to his more famous later work. During the 1970s, a major change came for Walken's career as recognition for his talent grew steadily. At the start of the decade, he drew attention with his performance in Lanford Wilson's Lemon Sky, an off-Broadway production that highlighted his intensity and brought him critical acclaim from theater critics and audiences alike. This role gave him a new level of respect on the stage, showcasing his unique style and emotional range that would become hallmarks throughout his life as an actor. Soon after his theater success, he began to appear in films, and 1971 marked his entry into the movie world with The Anderson Tapes. Here, he had a supporting role in a crime thriller, and though he was not the lead, Walken managed to make a serious impact thanks to his distinctive screen presence. The following year brought a new opportunity when he starred in The Mind Snatchers, a film where he landed his first major leading part. Taking on this starring role, Walken showed a deeper complexity, navigating psychological themes with subtlety and confidence. These early film jobs opened the door for future roles, and allowed him to start building the cinematic identity that fans would remember. Throughout this time in the 1970s, Walken's work in both theater and film signaled a turning point as critics and directors began to see him as a versatile and magnetic actor capable of carrying a story. Throughout the 1970s, Christopher Walken became recognized for his willingness to take on a wide variety of roles, revealing a remarkable flexibility that defied easy categorization. Early in the decade, he played a charismatic poet in Next Stop Greenwich Village, giving the character a unique energy and making audiences believe in his charm and wit. He could switch tones easily, which viewers later saw in Annie Hall, a film directed by Woody Allen. Here, Walken played a character with a kind of manic intensity, always teetering on the border of crazy, and his brief appearance left an unforgettable mark on the film's mood. During these years, Walken's range stood out among his peers, particularly because he often brought a distinctive, unpredictable quality to every performance. Eventually, he achieved significant critical acclaim with The Deer Hunter, where he played a complex Vietnam War veteran. This portrayal stood far apart from his earlier characters. Instead of charm or zaniness, Walken showed raw vulnerability and internal pain, drawing viewers deeply into the psychological aftermath of combat. Every expression and gesture in this role told a story of suffering and resilience, and it resonated powerfully with audiences. His ability to shift so smoothly between such different personalities, from lovable poet to oddball misfit to a man shattered by war, set him apart from many of his contemporaries. Winning the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor in 1978 for The Deer Hunter testified not just to his performance in that film, but to an entire decade's worth of bold, diverse work. Whether he was making people laugh, unsettling them, or moving them to tears, Walken's roles in the 1970s showed he could lead viewers through almost any emotional terrain without losing their attention. His choices then showed courage and an instinct for finding humanity in even the most unusual characters, making his career during that era stand out for its fascinating variety. Certainly, as the 1980s began, Christopher Walken quickly cemented his reputation as a tremendously versatile actor. Right from the outset of the decade, his role in Heaven's Gate, directed by Michael Cimino, was both daring and controversial. Although the film itself stirred significant debate, Walken's performance stood out, adding another complex character to his growing list of memorable roles. Shortly after, he continued to display this range in The Dogs of War in 1981, where he brought a raw intensity to his character, further establishing his ability to adapt to gritty, suspenseful dramas. His next move truly surprised audiences and critics alike when he appeared in Pennies from Heaven. In that film, Walken delivered a memorable and unexpected tap dancing striptease, turning heads with both his physical skill and unique stage presence. These performances throughout the 1980s not only entertained audiences, but also showcased how seamlessly he could move between roles that demanded emotional depth, physicality, or comedic flair. The decade was a testament to Walken's adaptability and charisma, marking him as a standout talent within the entertainment industry. Throughout his career, Christopher Walken proved that he could transform into almost any character. In the television film Who Am I This Time?, he took on the part of a shy, socially awkward man who is a gifted actor on stage. It was a role unlike some of his earlier work, allowing him to explore vulnerability and depth. In this performance, Walken showed he could express emotion and quirky charm all at once, using subtle movements and a unique sense of timing. Only a year later, in 1983, Walken starred as Johnny Smith in David Cronenberg's film adaptation of Stephen King's The Dead Zone. As Smith, Walken played a man who wakes from a coma with psychic powers, suddenly able to see the future, and the danger lurking in other people's lives. This showcased a very different aspect of his talent. The character struggled with trauma, loneliness, and fear, a stark contrast to the onstage energy of his previous roles. With every gesture and look, Walken brought a sense of tension and urgency to The Dead Zone, shifting easily between a haunted vulnerability and an almost chilling intensity. Throughout both roles, Walken demonstrated a remarkable ability to adapt to different types of storytelling, moving from heartfelt romance and humor to suspense and psychological thriller, proving he belonged in musicals and thrillers alike. His choices revealed how comfortable he was moving between genres and playing characters whose personalities were often in sharp contrast with each other. He managed to be both grounded and unpredictable, earning a reputation as one of the most interesting actors of his generation. During the mid-1980s, Christopher Walken stepped into the world of James Bond by taking on the memorable role of Max Zorin in A View to a Kill. In this film, he played a ruthless and wealthy industrialist, setting himself apart with a chilling sense of control and unpredictability that left a lasting impression on Bond fans. Walken, known for his intense delivery and unique mannerisms, dyed his hair blonde to portray Zorin, giving the character a cold, striking appearance that revealed his disregard for morals and made him instantly recognizable. The choice to transform his look and embody a villainous mastermind allowed Walken to explore a darker side, displaying cunning intelligence and a particular charm that only heightened the tension between Zorin and Bond. The visual change combined with Walken's natural ability to create unsettling characters captured audiences and critics alike, cementing Zorin as one of the most memorable Bond villains of that era. Shortly after his time as Zorin, Walken turned heads again by stepping into the shoes of crime boss Brad Whitewood in At Close Range, released in 1986. Here, audiences were once more taken by his ability to blend soft-spoken dialogue with a threatening presence, building an image of control and menace without resorting to loud or exaggerated behavior. Walken's seamless shift from one villainous role to another not only showcased the range he brought to the screen, but also demonstrated how effortlessly he could embody characters on either side of the law. In both these roles from the mid-80s, Walken managed to captivate with both the small details of manner and expression, as well as the broader strokes of crime and ambition, leaving a distinct mark on the audience's memory long after the credits rolled. Throughout the late 1980s, Christopher Walken made a serious impression with his acting choices. In 1988, he appeared as Sergeant Merwin J. Toomey in Neil Simon's Biloxi Blues, creating a commanding and complex character whose tough, unpredictable authority haunted the young soldiers under his charge. Walken's chilling mannerisms and sharp delivery added a powerful layer of tension and subtle menace, redefining how audiences understood the dynamics of control in the military. Setting his scenes drew attention for their intensity. In that same year, Walken also took on the role of author Whitley Strieber in the film Communion, navigating the difficult task of portraying a man tormented by strange, possibly alien encounters. He captured Strieber's vulnerability and fear, all the while threading through a growing sense of confusion and wonder as the character grappled with unexplained experiences. Viewers and critics alike noted the way Walken held together the film with his unpredictable depth and willingness to inhabit Strieber's most unsettling moments, making real a story that could have easily fallen apart in the hands of a lesser committed actor. Moving into the 2000s, Walken made a notable return to Broadway in James Joyce's The Dead, seamlessly transitioning from film back to theater. His work helped earn the production a Tony Award in 2001, with his presence on stage praised for the gravity and subtlety he brought to Joyce's characters. Around this time, Walken stepped into an entirely new spotlight with the now famous Weapon of Choice music video by Fatboy Slim, directed by Spike Jonze. In this unexpected performance, Walken's dancing stole the show. He seemed to float and glide through the hotel lobby, surprising viewers with his agility and sense of rhythm, revealing a playful side that many had never seen before. The video won a slew of MTV awards, with audiences voting it the best video of all time. The impact of his appearance in Weapon of Choice stretched far beyond music videos, transforming the public's view of him and cementing his place as a pop culture legend, beloved not just for acting, but also for the kind of risk-taking and fun that has become rare on screen. Throughout the 2000s, Christopher Walken proved that his acting talent was as broad as it was deep, taking on a variety of roles that entertained audiences across different genres. He brought humor and a sense of oddball unpredictability to the movie Joe Dirt, blending his unique style with the film's quirky energy. In America's Sweethearts, he added to the story's blend of romance and comedy, demonstrating yet again how his presence could make scenes more engaging. In 2002, his performance as Frank Abagnale Sr. in Catch Me If You Can was widely recognized, leading to an Academy Award nomination. As Abagnale Sr., he infused the character with both hope and heartbreak, showing the complex relationship with his son and adding a touching emotional layer to the film. Meanwhile, Walken wasn't shy about jumping into lighter, family-friendly fare like The Country Bears, where his comedic timing and willingness to play, no matter how quirky the project, made him a memorable part of the cast. That same adventurous spirit was on display in The Rundown, a comedic action film where he delivered lines with his signature dry wit and unexpected delivery, elevating the material with his distinct personality and charm. Over these years, Walken's choices revealed an actor open to experimentation, unafraid to jump between drama and comedy, and always bringing a memorable twist to whichever character he played, blending eccentricity and authenticity in a way only he could. As the years moved into the 2000s, Christopher Walken continued surprising audiences with his wide range of acting choices. This period saw him taking on an almost chameleon-like presence, blending into a variety of roles across comedy, drama, and even television. In the film Click, Walken portrayed a sympathetic inventor whose mysterious remote control device dramatically altered the lead character's life. His gentle yet quirky performance stood apart, bringing humor and depth to the movie. Shifting easily from gentle to menacing, Walken joined the cast of Balls of Fury as a crime lord, showcasing his signature blend of eccentricity and comedic tension that made his scenes especially memorable. Beyond film, he moved on to the stage, earning applause for his appearance in A Beheading in Spokane, where his performance was so compelling it landed him a Tony Award nomination. This recognition marked a high point in his later career, confirming his continual impact on live theater. Meanwhile, he ventured into television, lending his unmistakable voice and style to the popular show 30 Rock, adding a layer of unpredictability and wit to the series. These choices across film, stage, and television showed Walken's willingness to tackle diverse characters and settings, demonstrating his enduring flexibility as an actor. Following several notable turns on screen, Christopher Walken added new layers to his film and television legacy with striking roles in recent years. He stepped into the iconic shoes of Captain Hook for NBC's live broadcast of Peter Pan Live, making the villain both fresh and memorable for a new generation of viewers. Not long after, Walken lent his unique voice and style to Disney's adaptation of The Jungle Book, bringing the character King Louie to life in a way that only he could. As the years rolled into the 20s, Walken showed no hint of slowing down. He embraced television comedy, starring in The Outlaws, a Beacon, and Amazon Prime Video series, where his comic timing and dramatic instincts meshed perfectly with the ensemble cast. The range of his performances kept critics and audiences engaged, proving his staying power. His work took another turn with the Apple TV drama Severance, where he garnered widespread acclaim and earned an Emmy nomination for his complex, nuanced performance. Walken's ongoing presence in the industry and willingness to tackle such different roles across live performance, voice acting, comedy, and drama underscore both his adaptability and deep passion for his craft. These projects remind viewers that his creative energy is as strong as ever. His status as an actor further cemented with each new appearance, each fresh challenge met and conquered on screen, always with the unmistakable Walken touch. Over the years, few couples in Hollywood have had a relationship as steady as Christopher Walken and his wife Georgianne Walken. Their love story started back in the 1960s, a time when both were beginning to find their place in the entertainment world. Meeting so early in life and staying together for over 5 decades is rare in such a challenging industry. Although Christopher is known to millions for his unique acting style, taking on memorable film roles that made him a recognizable figure, Georgianne built her own reputation behind the scenes. She became an Emmy-winning casting director, respected across the industry for her keen eye and instinct for talent. Her impressive work on hit HBO series like The Sopranos and Entourage shows her influence on the shape of modern television drama and comedy. Both partners pursued separate careers, but supported each other, able to thrive despite the demanding schedules and outside attention that come with fame. Friends and colleagues have often spoken about the close bond they maintain, and how their partnership is built on mutual respect and understanding, making their story an example of lasting commitment even under the constant spotlight of Hollywood. Back in 1963, Christopher Walken and Georgianne first crossed paths as young dancers working together on a stage production of West Side Story. Georgianne, born in Chicago in 1944, was already carving her own place in the world of theater. Their first encounters involved long hours of rehearsal, laughter during breaks, and a growing respect for one another's talent. As they kept working side by side, a bond emerged, one rooted in mutual admiration and creative ambition. In 1969, they decided to make things official and got married. This was no fleeting romance. From that moment, they became partners in every sense of the word. Their lives were closely woven together, with Georgianne supporting Christopher through the ups and downs of his acting career, and Christopher treasuring the simple joys of their companionship. Despite the demands of the entertainment industry, They always return to each other, finding comfort and stability at home. Christopher once told the New York Times that sometimes, during calm moments, he finds himself looking out the window and feeling content. His bills are paid, his wife is healthy, and the weather is pleasant. That's all he really needs, he said, showing how much he values their life together. Over the years, inseparability became their signature, their days filled with the routine details of an ordinary but deeply meaningful shared existence, built on years of understanding and unwavering support. Meanwhile, in the varied landscape of the entertainment world, few collaborations are as interesting as when two talented individuals from different branches come together on the same project. Georgianne and Christopher Walken, though recognized for their achievements in different areas, found a unique intersection in the 1983 science fiction film Brainstorm. Christopher took on the lead role of Michael Brace, a gifted scientist who becomes involved in a groundbreaking experiment involving direct recording and playback of human experiences. His performance brought a trademark intensity to the character, making Brace's emotional journey and ethical dilemmas gripping for the audience. Georgianne, while usually known for her work in casting, stepped in front of the camera this time and appeared in a smaller, more subtle role as Wendy Abramson. Although her part was not as prominent as Christopher's, it contributed to the layered world depicted in the film and showed that her talents extended beyond casting into acting as well. Their collaboration in Brainstorm, though brief, stands as a moment where professional lanes overlapped, each bringing a distinct presence to the screen. The film itself created a platform that allowed both of them to share their skills with the audience in very different, but complementary ways. Despite his long and successful acting career, Christopher Walken and his wife made the deliberate choice not to have children. He's explained this decision by pointing to his busy professional life, which has spanned decades and included a huge variety of roles in film, television, and stage. In one notable example, Walken once reflected on playing a father in the comedy film Wedding Crashers, a role that gave him a chance to imagine what it would be like if he actually had a child of his own, specifically what it would have been like to have a beautiful daughter. Even though he never became a parent in real life, Walken drew on his thoughts and imagination to portray the emotional experiences of a father on screen. This ability to connect with roles outside his personal experience has been a key part of Walken's career. He often explores how choosing not to have children gave him the focus and time he needed to dedicate himself fully to his profession, take on roles that demanded much of his time and energy, and immerse himself in the demanding world of acting. He has openly discussed that, if he had chosen a different path, if he had taken on the responsibilities of raising children, his life and career might have looked very different. Instead, he found ways of bringing authenticity to his performances by considering how his own choices influence the lives he depicts in his roles, including the experience of being a father on screen, even when it never became part of his personal life. Instead of finding himself distracted by the many demands of family and outside commitments, Walken has often explained his single-minded approach. He made clear that his life, without children or hobbies, has always been about the work itself, a sort of devotion that emerged from deliberate choices early on. Growing up, he saw many childhood peers in show business eventually leave the industry, not necessarily from lack of talent or interest, but because having children required a level of stability and reliability that performing could not guarantee. By not having children, Walken wasn't forced into the kinds of dependable, routine jobs that many of his friends chose for the sake of their families. He recalls that this path allowed him to ride out even the dry spells, periods of unemployment that might have forced someone else out of acting. Instead of worrying about providing for a family or finding time for extracurricular interests, he filled his days with projects and performances, fully able to devote himself to every role, every rehearsal, every set. Because he never needed a fallback or a distraction, he poured all his effort into acting, seeing work as both occupation and passion. This openness to continuous work and the ability to fully immerse himself in each performance shaped not just his career, but his relationship to his craft, making acting both his livelihood and his life's focus. During a 1973 interview, Christopher Walken offered rare candor about his views on sexuality, connecting his personal thoughts to his role as Bassanio in The Merchant of Venice. While discussing his portrayal of Bassanio, Walken explained that he saw the character as bisexual, which led him to reflect on his own identity in a similar way. He stated that he supposed he thought of the man he was playing as bisexual, and admitted he supposed that is how he thought of himself too. This honest acknowledgement was striking for its time, Walken did not shy away from the topic, but instead addressed it directly, making it clear that his view of sexuality included a wide spectrum. He spoke without fear or apology, showing an acceptance of fluidity and nuance both in his own sense of self and in how he approached his work as an actor. By linking his personal perspective to a classic role, Walken revealed his approach to both life and craft, merging the boundaries between character and self in a way that was both open and thoughtful. His remarks remain one of the most straightforward discussions of sexuality from an actor in that era, highlighting a willingness to see beyond traditional labels and embrace complexity on and off the stage. Meanwhile, when Christopher Walken spoke about the fluidity of sexuality, his words echoed with those who have questioned their place in the world and wondered how to fit in. He talked about how sexuality is not fixed or simple, but can change and grow, just like many other parts of life. He believed that understanding this makes it easier to accept ourselves and others. In his view, everyone is different, and those differences should be seen as strengths rather than problems. He brought attention to the idea that identity, especially when it comes to who we love or how we see ourselves, does not have to stay the same forever. Sometimes people might feel one way for years, and then discover things about themselves that surprise them. Walken encouraged people to feel comfortable with any changes or discoveries they might have along the way. This way of thinking has helped many people feel less alone and more confident in finding their own path. By focusing on diversity and saying it is something to appreciate, not hide, Walken helped start conversations about what it means to truly know ourselves and each other. The way he talked made it easier for people, young or old, to be themselves without fear or shame. He believed that listening to stories from all kinds of people helps everyone see how many ways there are to be human, and that sharing these experiences builds a stronger sense of connection. Walken's approach suggested that the idea of who we are is something flexible, shaped by new experiences, feelings, and understanding over time. By emphasizing this, he gave people permission to be kinder toward themselves and explore without judgment, letting the world be a place where more forms of love and identity can be seen, understood, and respected, opening up the possibility for more acceptance and peace, both for individuals and the communities they belong to. Growing up in Queens, Christopher Walken heard a mix of voices and languages every day. His home was filled with the sounds of his German father and Scottish mother, both of whom spoke with strong accents. The family ran a bakery, and customers came from all over the world, each bringing their own rhythms, stresses, and ways of speaking. Instead of picking up a standard American accent, Walken absorbed the sound of this immigrant city. He mixed together different patterns of speech he heard, almost like learning a musical rhythm. That is why, when Walken speaks, his words come out in a way few others can match, sometimes with pauses in unexpected places, and a melody that doesn't follow the usual tunes. People often try to imitate him, thinking it's just a performance, but this is simply who he is, and how he learned to talk. He never changed his natural way of speaking for anyone, on or off the screen. Those childhood years, listening to his parents and their customers, left a mark on him that shaped one of the most recognizable voices in movies today. Walken's unique style is more than a quirk. It's a living reminder of New York's diversity and the powerful influence of immigrants on American culture and art. Therefore, when Christopher Walken talks about the way he speaks, he points to the world he grew up in as one of the main reasons for his unique rhythm. The people around him grew up speaking different languages, and for many, English was new. He describes how, when surrounded by various accents and languages, people had to stop and think before finding the right English word. This became more than just everyday communication. It built a whole pattern for how he uses language. When Walken performs, you can hear how his lines are delivered in a way that almost makes you want to listen more closely. Each sentence often pauses in surprising places, as if he's searching for not only the word, but also something a little deeper in it. He explains it as a rhythm, not just a sound, but a way of pacing himself. That habit, formed in his childhood neighborhood, stuck with him for life. Every pause, every jump in tone, comes not out of technique or acting lessons, but out of those early experiences, figuring out how to connect with people who were also trying to find the right thing to say. Over time, Walken's cadence has become as recognizable as his name, but underneath it all is that simple childhood need to pause, to listen, and to choose words with care. Interestingly, the distinctive way Christopher Walken speaks isn't only part of what people see in his movies or on television. His unusual rhythm, pauses, and the musical ups and downs of his voice carry over even when he's reading a book on his own or putting thoughts on paper. He doesn't switch it off when the cameras aren't rolling. It's simply a part of who he is. A lot of people try to imitate him or joke about the way he talks, but Walken himself thinks that their impressions don't really sound like him. He always says that people overdo it or focus on the wrong parts, almost turning his voice into a cartoon version of itself. Instead, Walken believes there's a natural cadence to the way he talks that comes from somewhere deeper, something he's lived with all his life, not a gimmick or a trick for effect. That's why when he gets a script for a film or a play, he often changes the lines just a little bit. He will tweak the wording or the sentence structure, sometimes even leaving out a word or moving one to another spot, to make it feel right in his own voice. Some writers don't like this. They work very hard to craft just the right words in their scripts, hoping actors will speak them exactly as written. But Walken is stubborn about it. He wants the character to sound like him and feel real, even if it means ruffling a few feathers along the way. His habit of altering scripts is not an act of disrespect, but more a desire to keep things natural and honest for himself. Some directors and writers have learned to accept this, and they even hope for it, knowing it can bring a unique flavor to the roles he plays. Whether he's narrating an audiobook, reading poetry, or just chatting during an interview, that voice always stands out. It's gentle and odd at the same time. Some people find it mysterious while others think it's funny, but to Walken, it's simply his way of speaking in and out of the spotlight. Oddly enough, Christopher Walken approaches punctuation as if it were a set of loose guidelines rather than firm rules, and he often chooses to remove it completely from the scripts as given, instead of working within the normal rhythm of lines broken up by periods or question marks. He rearranges these marks, moving them to places that make sense only to him. This habit creates a unique speech pattern that stands out, making his delivery unpredictable and memorable, but sometimes it raises tension on set. Directors, writers, and fellow actors sometimes have to adjust or feel frustration since they might expect him to hit lines according to their structure. However, Walken does not waver. He refuses to let traditional punctuation dictate how he expresses his characters, insisting that his way of reading is what feels right for the performance. By taking out punctuation or relocating it, he says it gives his lines an unexpected rhythm, almost musical, and makes his characters come alive in ways the original script sometimes cannot predict. Some collaborators, especially those attached to the written word, can get thrown off by his method, yet Walken's belief in this approach is unwavering. He argues that language can be freer than rules suggest, and punctuation, for him, is less about following grammatical law and more about finding truth in the voice. As a result, viewers have come to expect a kind of speech from Walken that seems to bend the line between written and spoken word, capturing their attention through this unusual pacing, even as it sometimes sets him apart from others in the industry. Sometimes, Christopher Walken sits at a small desk, a lamp casting shadows over the paper as he writes in a way only he would. There is no glow of a computer screen or the buzz of a cell phone nearby, because Walken does not use these things for communication. Instead, he takes his time with a pen and a sheet of paper, shaping each letter so that every word is in all capital letters. He never uses cursive, and never even puts a period or a comma at the end of his thoughts. He always writes with block letters, sharp and clear, each word standing alone, but somehow running together, making a single sentence glide down the page without a single pause. Every letter he sends follows this rule: one line, one idea, straight to the point with no extra details or decoration. This habit matches how he speaks in movies, with sentences that sometimes sound like they are missing their ends, focused only on what matters most. Walken's handwritten letters are direct and unadorned, almost as if he wants to make sure the message arrives, unaltered and unmistakable, reflecting that preference for simplicity and directness that marks his acting and his public life. There is a confidence to these short, simple notes, something strongly individual, and even a little mysterious, since so few people choose to avoid digital devices and write by hand, much less in such a unique style. Over time, these single-sentence, all-capital missives have become part of his legend, a hidden signature of his personality, and a quiet testament to the way he moves through the world, unhurried and unaffected by trends, favoring old-fashioned tools and his own unique rhythm, relying on pen and paper to express himself in the same measured but unmistakable way he delivers his lines in film. However, when you listen to Walken speak, it becomes clear that he does not follow the expected rules of language that are common among actors. He delivers his lines in a way that is distinctly his own, often surprising both audiences and fellow performers. Instead of fitting his speech into a standard rhythm or using ordinary phrasing, Walken creates a pattern that reflects his individuality. This unique use of language is not something he changes to fit a role or please an audience. It is always present, whether he is acting in a serious drama, a comedy, or even reading a script aloud. His willingness to let his true voice shine through separates him from others in Hollywood, where actors are often encouraged to adapt and blend in. Walken's authenticity extends beyond his performance. It is part of his identity as an artist. He reads scripts in his own style, never afraid to pause where others would not, or to emphasize words in unexpected ways. This refusal to conform to what is expected makes him memorable and instantly recognizable. Audiences have come to anticipate and appreciate his approach, finding it refreshing and honest. He shows that being yourself has value, and his determination to remain authentic has turned his voice into a hallmark of his career. Others may follow industry trends or pressure to sound like everyone else, but Walken continues to offer something different, reminding us all of the power of individuality. Even when surrounded by legendary actors who dive deep into their roles, Christopher Walken stands out because he does not disappear into his characters in the same way. Instead of method acting, which asks actors to transform themselves completely, Walken uses his own personality in every scene. He takes each role and lets it reflect a piece of who he already is, with his voice, mannerisms, and delivery always close to the surface. As a result, watching Walken on screen never feels like watching a stranger. His characters seem like different versions of one man, connected by a thread of authenticity. Walken's presence brings a unique unpredictability, as if he could do or say anything at any moment, but always in a way that seems natural for him. This approach allows every performance to carry his signature, whether he's playing oddball villains, quirky dancers, or dramatic figures. The pattern is clear. Walken never hides. He brings his distinct energy, making every line, pause, or dance move specifically his own, and viewers can always sense his true self underneath the character's mask. In a world of acting that often celebrates transformation, Walken's honesty stands apart, creating memorable moments that feel both surprising and completely true to him. Even though many actors talk about losing themselves in their roles, Christopher Walken offers a different perspective. In an interview with The Guardian, he explained that he never truly transforms into the characters he plays. Instead, acting for him is about performance, not total immersion. Rather than becoming someone else, he uses his own personality and life experiences as the basis for each role. Walken described it as finding the right rhythm and cadence, something that feels right to him personally. He looks for details of speech and movement that match his own way of being, rather than completely inventing a new person from scratch. For Walken, this approach keeps acting honest and alive because he never completely steps away from himself. The balance between his own identity and the parts he plays is always present. By relying on his natural instincts and genuine reactions, he maintains a unique presence on screen. This method allows Walken to bring something fresh and slightly unpredictable to every performance. Instead of disappearing behind a mask, he shapes each character using his own quirks and emotions, turning acting into a creative conversation between the script and his real-life self. This thinking means he is less interested in copying mannerisms or behaviors that do not naturally align with him. Each performance feels personal, with Walken lending his established voice and rhythm rather than striving to vanish completely into a fictional persona. In this way, his acting retains a sense of authenticity and spontaneity, drawing audiences in not just to the character, but to the man behind the role himself. Even after decades in the business, Walken's approach feels almost effortless, as if he is in no rush to distance himself from the way he started. Over the years, he's found that working in his own home brings a sense of comfort, whether he's sitting in his kitchen running through a script or listening to music for a new role. Everything seems to move to its own rhythm, a pattern Walken understands well because of his early training as a dancer. That rhythm stays with him no matter how famous the part, letting him settle into a role by feeling it out, much like counting out steps in a dance class rather than worrying over every line. Even with all the awards and attention, Walken doesn't let outside pressure change the way he works. Instead, he shows a calm, almost casual attitude that keeps his work from ever seeming forced or overly calculated. While other actors may chase the next big challenge or fret about their careers, Walken quietly slips into each new part with the same easygoing confidence that has always defined him. Instead of rushing headlong through the Hollywood race, Christopher Walken simply lets things come to him. He's described himself as lazy, not in a careless or unreliable way, but by not chasing every part or hungering non-stop for the next big thing. This approach is less about a lack of caring, and more about staying grounded, rather than sweating over what role he'll get next, or worrying about what's waiting behind every door in the industry. He shows a surprising calm, avoiding the cycle of hustle that sends anxiety into so many actors' lives. He trusts that what is meant for him will find him. This easygoing mindset helps him stay healthy, both mentally and physically. Walken isn't trapped by ambition or worried about losing his edge. Whether or not he stars in the next blockbuster doesn't rattle him. He believes opportunities will come when they come, and he's never stressed about how big or small they are. This kind of attitude is rare in a profession famous for making people desperate for attention, leading to fear and burnout. Walken's laid-back way of working keeps him steady and gives him a life outside of acting without letting Hollywood consume him. Throughout his career, Walken's humility and lack of ego have made him stand out among many other Hollywood actors. Even though he has been a part of countless films and worked with some of the biggest names in the industry, Walken never treats his work as something to feed his own importance. He doesn't let disappointment affect him when he isn't chosen for a part or when a project does not go as planned. To him, casting decisions are simply a part of the larger business, and each choice a director or producer makes is not an evaluation of his worth as a performer or a person. Instead of letting rejection make him bitter or closed off, Walken accepts the reality that sometimes someone else gets the job. He doesn't hold on to missed opportunities, nor does he let regret shape his career. The honesty of the industry is something he readily accepts, knowing that no actor is right for every role, and that decisions are rarely personal. This attitude allows him to move forward from every setback with a sense of grace and calm acceptance, keeping his focus on the present and enjoying whatever work comes his way. By not allowing his emotions or ego to dictate his outlook, Walken maintains a healthy distance from disappointment and never loses sight of the joy of acting. His humility keeps him approachable and open to new experiences, making collaboration easier and keeping his reputation as a genuinely likable figure in a competitive world. Without the distractions of frustration or entitlement, Walken is able to continue finding meaning in his work and to appreciate the unpredictable nature of his profession with an uncommon lightness. Yet when looking at Christopher Walken, it's easy to notice how his presence defies the usual rules of Hollywood. He doesn't push for constant attention or try to be the most polished performer in the room. Instead, his laid-back attitude and unique choices are what makes so many people remember him. There's a refreshing honesty about the way he approaches his roles. Whether he's saying a line in his signature voice or dancing unexpectedly in a film, Walken gives off a vibe that he's doing things on his own terms. He seems comfortable with the strange moments and the unpredictable nature of acting, which draws others in. While some actors work hard to show only their best side, Walken's most interesting moments often happen when things aren't perfect, when he lets his quirks show. Many fans appreciate how he doesn't seem obsessed with winning awards or being called the greatest. He's more focused on continuing to explore the work, finding the fun in each experience, and being himself. This relaxed point of view gives others permission to slow down and enjoy their own journeys, instead of always chasing after recognition or accolades. Walken's unconventional methods prove that staying true can lead to a type of success that's deeper and more lasting, one built on genuine expression rather than the approval of others. It reminds people that there is real value in not following every expectation, and sometimes the best moments come when you simply let yourself be. Suddenly, in November 1981, Christopher Walken found himself part of a mystery swirling around the death of actress Natalie Wood. The three stars, Natalie Wood, her husband Robert Wagner, and Walken, had just finished filming scenes for Brainstorm. That weekend, they spent time together on Wagner's yacht, anchored near Catalina Island. The night began with dinner and drinks. Reports said spirits were high, and the group was enjoying themselves, but tensions grew after a while. According to accounts, there may have been disagreements or raised voices. Eventually, Natalie disappeared from the yacht. Her body was discovered the next morning, floating in the water. The question of how she ended up in the sea has never been answered beyond doubt. Walken was interviewed by police and talked about the evening, claiming he went to bed before Wood went missing, and did not know what happened after that. Over the years, speculation has never really faded. Many wonder whether what really happened on that boat will ever be made clear. Walken rarely speaks publicly about that night, and the mystery remains one of Hollywood's most persistent unsolved cases. Since that tragic event, Walken's silence has become almost as famous as the mystery itself. Even though he was there on the boat the night Natalie's life ended, he has kept nearly all his thoughts about what happened to himself. The night began as a gathering between friends, but after Natalie disappeared from the yacht, questions swirled around everyone on board. The lay medical examiner, Thomas Noguchi, ruled that her death was an accidental drowning, yet rumors persisted, and plenty of people still wonder what really unfolded. Some stories from people on the boat do not seem to match perfectly, accounts have differed, and as time passed, the uncertainty only deepened. Yet, through every retelling, Walken has rarely spoken publicly about the incident. People have tried to get him to share memories or explanations, but he always seems to keep a certain distance when asked, revealing little beyond what is common knowledge. The more the public has searched for answers, the more Walken has seemed to withdraw from this part of his past, refusing interviews or simply deflecting questions about that fatal night. Over the years, his silence has stood out, drawing even more attention, and sometimes suspicion, since the details remain murky, and speculation never really stops. With official reports quietly stating facts, and unofficial stories taking on a life of their own, Walken's decision to stay quiet has shaped the ongoing public conversation, leaving people to wonder whether the truth is simple or complicated, and if one day he will decide to speak out. After the tragic discovery of Wood's body in the water, stories circulated about the possible events leading up to that night. Rumors spread about jealousy, heated arguments, and uneasy relationships among those present. Whispers of volatile behavior filled headlines and fueled public speculation as everyone tried to piece together what had happened. Attention quickly turned to Walken, who was among the last people to see Wood alive. The situation was thick with mystery, and many searched for clues in old interviews and tabloid stories. Some speculated about the nature of his relationship with the others on the yacht, examining every past quote, gesture, and encounter for signs of hidden conflict or motive. Rather than clarify events or add to the narrative, Walken chose to say almost nothing. Neither confirming nor denying the stories, he stayed silent, leaving only his measured calm for the public to interpret. This decision not to comment only fueled more theories, casting a shadow of uncertainty over his role in the night's events. The unanswered questions and Walken's refusal to elaborate have become part of the enduring fascination surrounding that period, drawing ongoing attention from those interested in the case. Each new rumor or revelation sends people back to the beginning, reviewing what little is known, and searching for meaning in Walken's silence. After the new documentary about Natalie Wood's death aired in the United States on January 27, 2020, there were once again many conversations about the circumstances of her tragic end. The documentary, called Natalie Wood, What Remains Behind, gave people a closer look at what happened all those years ago, and especially focused on Wood's daughter, Natasha Gregson Wagner. Natasha took a central role by asking her stepfather, Robert Wagner, hard questions about the night that changed everything for their family. She tried to find the truth by having an open conversation about the events on the yacht, where Natalie Wood lost her life so unexpectedly. The story has haunted Hollywood for decades, with mysteries and whispers about what really happened that night. While the documentary aimed to remember the actress and her legacy, it also confronted the confusion and pain that her loved ones carried. By including personal interviews and Natasha's search for answers, the film helped people see Natalie not just as a movie star but as a mother, and a woman who meant a great deal to those close to her. The renewed attention from the documentary brought up old suspicions, and made people wonder if new facts might come to light. But mostly it showed just how much one event can leave lasting questions around those left behind. Later that evening, after returning to their boat following dinner, Wagner stated that he got into an argument with Christopher Walken about Natalie Wood. The tension between the two men grew during the argument, and at some point during this confrontation, Wood excused herself and left. Sometime afterward, Wagner discovered that Wood was missing from their room. A search followed, and tragically, her body was later found in the water. The circumstances of her disappearance and death were unclear, and for many years the incident remained surrounded by speculation and rumors. Authorities originally ruled her death an accident, which left lingering questions in the minds of those who followed the case. Decades later, in 2018, Wagner was named a person of interest in the investigation for the first time, bringing renewed attention to the events of that night and the argument involving Walken. The complex and mysterious sequence of events on the boat has been recounted and revisited many times, focusing attention on each detail of the argument and the hours that followed. Even though the mystery of Natalie Wood's death has been talked about for years, Christopher Walken, who was with her on the boat, has always stayed mostly silent about the incident. Unlike Robert Wagner, who told his stepdaughter with emotion that nobody heard anything that night and said the event has haunted him, Walken has chosen a very different path. He did not appear in the recent documentary about the tragedy and only rarely chooses to mention what happened to Wood. In a few past interviews, Walken spoke about Natalie Wood's death briefly, but he gave very little detail and never seemed eager to go into depth about it. Walken's short comments on the matter have not given any new clues or answers, and instead seem to reflect his desire to move on from the painful notoriety. For people who follow the case, Walken's quiet approach stands out, since he is one of the last people who might know more about what happened that night on the boat. His refusal to participate in the documentary signals just how little he wants to be associated with the ongoing speculation and drama. Through the years, his low-profile stance about the loss continues, and anything he has actually said on the subject remains scarce. Walken has never opened up further about Natalie Wood's passing, only mentioning it when pressed, and his brief remarks have left many questions still unanswered. Years after Natalie Wood's tragic death, Christopher Walken spoke about the event to People magazine, reflecting on the night when Wood slipped and fell into the water. He explained that he was in bed at the time and admitted it was a terrible thing to have happened. Walken did not go into further detail, brushing off the conversation by saying it was a subject he would rather not discuss, and finding it tedious to revisit. He was direct about this, indicating his discomfort and unwillingness to elaborate. Later, in a 1997 interview with Playboy magazine, Walken again described Wood's death as an accident. These are the statements he publicly made regarding the incident, displaying a consistent message that points to his belief in the accidental nature of her passing and his ongoing reluctance to revisit the painful subject. After the events of that night, he explained that what truly happened is something only she would know, since she was alone. He said that she had gone to bed before any of them, and her room was located at the back of the boat, away from where they were. He remembered there was a dinghy that kept bumping against the boat's side, and thinking she might have gone out to move it, he spoke about the setup there. There was a ski ramp near the area, part of it hanging into the water, looking slick even to someone careful. He had tried walking on it himself, and found it tricky, the surface easy to slip on. She had mentioned before that she could not swim, something he kept in mind afterward. His account pointed out that her decision to go outside, if she did, would have meant facing a risky sequence of bouncing dinghy, a slippery ramp, and uncertain footing. He did not say he saw anything, only described the scene as he recalled it, trying to piece together what might make sense when someone vanishes under such circumstances. There was no sound, no visible struggle, just the possibility of a mundane act that turned tragic because of bad luck, and the environment's danger. He stuck to these observations, not claiming knowledge he did not have, reciting the facts around that night, turning what could only be suspicion and a heavy sense of loss into words as best he could. Over the years, there has been a lot of public speculation surrounding Christopher Walken and his involvement in certain events that drew substantial media attention. Even after official investigations were carried out and authorities reached their conclusions, many people remained convinced that there must be something more to the story, as if hidden details had been left out. Walken himself acknowledged that some individuals would never be satisfied with the truth, no matter how thoroughly the authorities explained it. He has consistently stated that the truth is that there is nothing more to reveal about what happened. Repeatedly questioned by both authorities and by the press, Walken refused to discuss the events publicly. His choice to keep his perspective private only added to the curiosity and mystery that people felt about the case. Despite the persistent requests for comment and efforts to obtain further details, Walken has remained silent, offering no interviews, statements, or clarifications. His silence has fueled ongoing debates, but he has maintained that the official account is complete and that no further explanation exists. Public perception may continue to question the outcome, yet Walken's stance is unwavering in insisting that no additional truths lie beneath the surface of what has already been reported. Following the tragic death of Natalie Wood, medical reports stated her passing was an accidental drowning, a view publicly supported by Christopher Walken, who was present on the yacht that night. Walken stood by the official conclusion, insisting there was no reason to suspect foul play. However, conflicting stories soon emerged, mainly from Dennis Davern, the yacht's captain, who claimed that heated arguments took place before Wood disappeared. According to some witnesses, there were indications that jealousy may have influenced the chain of events that led to her death. This complicated the narrative. While medical authorities stuck to the accidental drowning conclusion, persistent rumors and inconsistent witness statements caused speculation that not everything about that night was being disclosed. The combination of the captain's testimony and rumors of tumult cast doubt over the straightforwardness of the reports. Yet Walken never deviated from his public position, aligning with the medical findings. The public remained divided, some believing Walken and the official reports, others giving weight to the alternate accounts and the yacht captain's statements. To this day, Walken has said little else about that night, choosing not to contradict or expand on the official story, leaving questions about the incident lingering in the public mind. Ever since that night, a shadow has followed Christopher Walken. He stands calmly in interviews, yet when the topic comes up, his expression turns inward and closed. Despite all the curiosity surrounding the event, Walken never opens the door to his memories. He gives nothing away. Instead, he says little or nothing at all, letting silence fill up the space where answers should be. For years, questions have circled him. Friends and journalists, fans and strangers, everyone wants to know what truly happened. But Walken keeps to his decision. In rare comments, his words slip past the subject, quick and out of reach. Details are as scarce as ever. Each time the moment is brought up, it turns slippery, distant, replaced with vague statements or gentle redirection. Whatever took place that night is wrapped tightly away. Some believe Walken holds the key. Others think the story isn't his to share. Still, he moves forward, the unseen event a constant but silent companion, fueling speculation across decades. While rumors flow and fragments surface, the complete account remains hidden. The world is left only with guesses, not facts. That is the puzzle the more people search, the deeper the story hides. Walken's refusal to explain does not make the mystery disappear. It deepens it. What occurred stays behind a wall of quiet, adding to his image of distance and intrigue. In interviews, when the atmosphere tenses and eyes turn serious, he doesn't change his approach. The incident lingers, heavy and unsolved, suspended in the public imagination. Those moments remain vivid in rumor, but not in record. Each attempt to unravel the story seems to make it knit itself tighter, with Walken unmoved at its center, his silence protecting details that may never come to light. Before becoming a Hollywood legend, Christopher Walken lived a life that could easily be mistaken for a movie plot. Adding to his mysterious persona is the little-known fact that the name Christopher Walken is not his real name, adding yet another layer of intrigue to his story. Even more unexpected is his youthful endeavor in the world of circus performance. At just 16, Walken responded to a trade paper advertisement and took a job in a touring circus, where he was cast in the unlikely role of a lion tamer's son. Working under the guidance of the experienced lion tamer Terrell Jacobs, Walken found himself sharing the ring with Sheba, a big cat who, according to him, behaved more like a domestic house cat than a dangerous predator. Despite the obvious risks of such a job, Walken speaks fondly of that brief but unforgettable chapter in his life, hinting at a sense of adventure and fearlessness that set him apart long before he entered the acting world. Those early experiences with Sheba shaped his comfort with the unusual, something audiences recognize in his later screen roles, where he often brings a unique mix of charm, unpredictability, and mystery. Naturally, it has become well known in the film world that Christopher Walken's love of props and wardrobe goes way beyond the usual actor's mementos. Whenever Walken steps out in public, there is an excellent chance that his outfit carries a bit of Hollywood history. He has made a habit, almost a tradition, of borrowing clothes from movie sets where he has worked, often blurring the line between screen persona and real life. Walken has said directly that he likes to keep items from the wardrobe department, and seems to do so with an air of mischief and playfulness rather than any real malice. This borrowing isn't limited to smaller items like ties, hats, or shoes. Sometimes entire jackets or memorable pieces mysteriously disappear from film shoots, only to reappear later as part of Walken's personal collection. His street attire is, in a sense, a museum of cinematic artifacts. For devoted movie buffs, spotting Walken in something familiar is like finding an Easter egg in real life, because odds are good that his jacket or scarf originated from a famous film role. His fondness for this practice is so well known that specific productions have even taken steps to prevent it. On the set of Batman Returns, where he played the conniving Max Schreck, The clothing department went so far as to clear out his dressing room before Walken could take anything else home with him. Crew members have joked about his light fingers, but it is generally met with amusement because it seems to spring from affection for the craft rather than any kind of contempt for the rules. This unique habit sets Walken apart from many of his peers, who might frame a movie poster or save a script as a keepsake. Instead, Walken lives his memories, literally wearing reminders of past performances as he moves through the world. Over the years, this approach has built a wardrobe unlike any other actor, a rotating display of costumes and accessories that tell a rich story about his varied career and larger-than-life personality. Interestingly, the story of Christopher Walken and Marlon Brando's almost collaboration reads like something out of a dream. Walken, known for his unique style and memorable dance moves in film, was on set in Nova Scotia when his path unexpectedly crossed with Brando's. This wasn't a typical Hollywood meeting. Brando, fascinated by a dance performance Walken had delivered on screen, made direct contact. He wanted the name of Walken's choreographer, but his real idea was much more outlandish. Brando was cooking up plans for a musical variety show filmed inside his own home, with the twist that everyone, even Brando himself, would have to dance. Walken became an informant, caught between the realms of classic film acting and strange, nearly surreal showbiz proposals. The vision was both bold and peculiar. Marlon Brando, once the brooding Stanley Kowalski, would twirl, tap, or maybe do the cha-cha in his living room, joined by luminaries like Walken, whose own moves were distinct and captivating. The suggestion had its own electricity. Imagine Brando, Walken, musicians, and dancers drifting between the walls of Brando's house, performing and clowning in front of the cameras. Walken's involvement, at least at the communication stage, adds an extra shimmer of showbiz legend to the tale. Ultimately, the plan remained a wild conversation and a mischance, whispered about in Hollywood circles afterward. The Marlon Brando variety show never moved forward, but for a moment, Christopher Walken was in the middle of one of entertainment's strangest might-have-beens. Growing up in New York, Christopher Walken faced a world that felt more like a horror museum than a typical neighborhood. All around him were unusual characters, each with their own quirks, secrets, and hard edges. At a young age, Walken realized that surviving in this kind of environment required a certain attitude, something tough and unshakable. He learned to adopt that sense of self-defense and toughness, an internal armor that protected him from the unpredictable world outside his door. When Walken talks about his childhood, it becomes clear that these real, gritty experiences shaped how he approached his acting. Instead of making up fear or darkness for the characters he played, he could draw right from his own life. The alleys and streets of his youth became the training ground for his on-screen menace. Those eyes that seem to see too much, the steady voice that never betrays a hint of nerves. These are not just tricks he picked up for the movies. They are the result of years spent navigating situations where you had to stay sharp, read other people quickly, and know how to react when things got intense. Every villain he brings to life on screen, every unsettling moment, is touched by that early training in real danger and unpredictability. Because Walken learned to survive among the strange, sometimes dangerous folk that filled his world, he doesn't have to pretend when he steps into those roles. He simply remembers what it was like to face genuine threats, and draws out the fear. Fascination from somewhere deep inside. His performances are a reflection of his past, showing just how much real life can shape the work of an artist who is brave enough to use it. Even though he's famous for playing eccentric and sometimes intense characters on screen, Christopher Walken has always described himself as a gentle person in real life. He calls himself a pussycat, and this is more than just a joke. It's a true reflection of how he sees himself, far removed from the unpredictable figures people expect him to be. Walken takes his personal values seriously, which is why he has no problem turning down acting roles that go against what he believes. If a script contains anything he finds morally questionable, he simply walks away from it. What makes things even more frustrating for him is a particular trend in Hollywood, where writers try to alter scripts to match their idea of who he is as a person, instead of focusing on who the character is supposed to be. Walken has a name for this process. He calls it Walkenization. When writers attempt to rewrite a role just because they think it should sound or look more like Christopher Walken, he feels dissatisfied, even annoyed. This habit of changing characters so they match public perceptions of him, instead of sticking to the story, disrupts his process and makes him less interested in taking the part. It sends a message that the project is more interested in using his public persona than creating something genuine. Because he values authenticity above playing into his own image, he often rejects roles where he can sense the script has been rewritten, just for the sake of turning the character into a version of himself. Walken believes that a strong character should stand on its own, and that actors do their best work when they are allowed to bring something new and true without being boxed in by preconceived ideas. This commitment to his real self and to craft is a big part of why he chooses certain projects and avoids others. For Walken, acting is not about repeating a single persona over and over, but about finding real people within the story, and when writers ignore that, he's quick to step away, even if it means turning down big opportunities that might have made him even more famous. However, beneath his well-known boldness on screen, Christopher Walken lives with a surprising set of real-life fears. Even though he often plays tough, fearless characters in movies, he finds himself wary of a host of everyday things. Horses, for example, are one of his biggest fears. Even after acting in films that feature horses, he still keeps his distance. This is not something he takes lightly, as his anxiety around them is so strong that he avoids being near them whenever possible. Driving is another activity that makes him uneasy. Walken has admitted more than once that he prefers not to drive, and would rather have someone else take the wheel when traveling by car. Flying is not any easier for him. Instead of taking airplanes, he often seeks out alternative travel arrangements, showing how even a man so powerful on screen would rather keep his feet on the ground. His careful approach carries over into simple, everyday activities as well. For example, in London, he finds crossing the street to be stressful and confusing, likely due to the city's traffic patterns and the direction of cars. Walken's willingness to talk openly about these fears makes him relatable in a way that his tough characters sometimes do not. Despite the expectations that come with his roles, he moves through daily life trying to manage these fears, letting others take on responsibilities that might seem routine to most. Whether it's sitting in the passenger seat, avoiding horses, or choosing not to fly, he navigates around these anxieties in quiet, practical ways. People might picture him as daring and strong at all times, but the reality is much more layered. These personal fears remind us that even the most confident actors can feel uneasy, and that managing fear is often just as much a part of someone's story as their successes on screen. Moreover, few would guess that behind his well-known roles on screen, Walken spends much of his private life wrapped in a quiet devotion to animals. He treasures the peaceful moments at his Connecticut country home, where the presence of wildlife just beyond the windows offers him calm far removed from the spotlight. Watching birds flutter from branch to branch, or glimpsing deer at the edge of the woods, he feels a sense of connection and understanding with the natural world. This respect and love for animals carry into his daily life, especially in the way he advocates for their welfare. He gently urges those around him to consider adoption when looking for pets, believing every animal deserves a loving home. Walken's tender connection with his own cats is unmistakable. To him, these feline companions are not just pets, but family members, each with personalities and quirks he cherishes. The house is shaped around their comfort, always arranged to allow for warm naps in sunny corners or playful exploration. These bonds bring him a quiet happiness that contrasts with his public image, and those who know him well recognize that his affection for animals is genuine and deep-rooted, echoing in his choice to live away from city chaos and to support causes close to his heart. Walking the wooded paths around his property, he finds simple joy in observing the rhythms of wildlife, believing these encounters add a richness to life that cannot be found on any film set or in any script. Surprisingly, for someone who often plays tough and violent characters on screen, Walken holds strong personal beliefs against guns and hunting. He has made it clear that he refuses to handle real firearms, even during film productions, and distances himself from any scenes involving actual weapons. Walken speaks openly about how he finds the culture around sport hunting not just unappealing but outright barbaric and unnecessary. Rather than celebrate the chase or any form of killing for entertainment, he spends his time tending to the wild animals that frequent his backyard. Walken makes use of a makeshift hunting tray, not to capture or harm, but to feed creatures like possums and raccoons. This act serves as a quiet protest against the tradition of hunting, trading the rifle for bits of food, and opting for compassion over domination. His actions show a soft, caring side that runs counter to the gritty, intense figures he embodies in movies. Walken channels his opinions into these everyday rituals, quietly denouncing a culture he feels causes needless suffering and choosing instead to connect with animals through gentle acts of kindness. Growing up in Asteria, Queens, Christopher Walken experienced more than the busy city streets and the usual sights of New York. He grew up shaped by the colorful characters and fast pace that only a city neighborhood can offer. Even as he became a traveler, working around the globe, his memories always circled back to Asteria. He often shares vivid stories about the vivid television culture that filled his home in those days. In Walken's eyes, television in New York City was unlike anywhere else, offering every sort of show and character, all fueled by the energy of his hometown. Walken speaks with warmth about those days, remembering how his family would gather around the television set. Each night a new adventure right in their living room. According to him, everything about Asteria, the neighbors, the neighborhood stores, the laughter carried through open windows, remains woven into his sense of self. Even with fame, and all the travel his work demands, Walken insists that nowhere on earth can replace the feeling of belonging he gets from Asteria. This deep connection is something he shared with his late mother, whose affection for their neighborhood matched his own. Whenever Walken recounts stories from childhood, it is clear that Asteria is more than a chapter in his life. It is the foundation of who he is, a constant presence, and the place where his most treasured memories were made. Despite being best known for his acting, Christopher Walken is also a talented cook who manages to fit his passion for food into his busy life. He often finds peace by chopping, stirring, and tasting in the kitchen after long hours on set. Growing up in a family of German bakers, Walken developed his cooking skills early, surrounded by the sights and smells of rising dough and sweet pastries. His childhood was filled with both artisanal confections from his family bakery and more rustic meals handed down from his parents' immigrant backgrounds. These traditions formed the base of his own style of cooking. Today, Walken's meals are far from basic, as he takes inspiration from all over the world, preparing dishes that span cultures, from spicy Mexican recipes to fragrant Thai meals. He does not just follow recipes but brings heart and memory into every dish, making cooking a creative act as meaningful for him as acting on stage or in film. Even when filming schedules stretch late into the night, Walken looks forward to coming home and experimenting with new flavors, guided by nostalgia for his family's kitchen and curiosity about cuisines far from his New York upbringing. Despite having a real passion for cooking, Christopher Walken has always turned down offers to star in scripted cooking shows. He prefers to keep things lively and unscripted in the kitchen, much like the way he approaches his acting. Walken thinks planning every step takes the fun out of it. He likes to experiment, making each meal a unique experience, which fits his unpredictable style. His love for food and performance sometimes meet, especially in creative projects like the short film he made with Richard Belzer. In that film, Walken's humor and spontaneity make the cooking scenes entertaining, showing he can mix comedy and culinary work without following a rigid script. Instead of sticking to set lines or rehearsed routines, he jokes around, improvises, and brings out a playful side, often surprising even himself. Collaborating with other actors instead of professional chefs adds even more fun to the mix. Walken's approach says a lot about his personality. He trades the polished perfection that comes with typical cooking shows for something a lot more genuine and free-spirited. This makes each of his appearances memorable because viewers never know what to expect. His unpredictability and charm shine through best when he doesn't follow a tightly written plan, allowing fans to enjoy moments that feel as real as they are entertaining. Although his reputation for embracing culinary treats is well known, Walken is determined to stay mindful of his weight, especially when his career places him under the spotlight. Even with so many tempting dishes available on set, he recognizes the dangers of the ever-present buffet tables and the long hours sitting around between scenes. Rather than giving in to constant snacking that can lead to unwanted pounds, he has developed the habit of limiting himself to just one meal a day during periods of filming. This choice is not only practical but also rooted in self-discipline, allowing him to maintain his physique while navigating hectic work schedules. He believes this approach helps him resist the pitfalls of the movie industry's food-heavy environment and the possibility of slipping into a sedentary routine. As Walken sees it, staying vigilant about what he eats and when he eats has become an essential part of his professional life, even as he continues to enjoy rich food off-set. Instead of joining the wave of celebrities who post daily updates or behind-the-scenes photos, Christopher Walken has always avoided becoming part of the online social media scene. As he remains firmly disconnected from modern technology, people searching for him online found plenty of false leads, Most famously a fake Twitter account that managed to draw in a large crowd of followers before it was finally suspended. Even with these imposters making headlines, Walken's own stance never changed. He does not own or use a cell phone, and prefers to keep away from computers, relying instead on the old-fashioned ways of staying in touch. He has mentioned that he knows technology is important for the movie industry now, helping people get work and communicate more easily, but he does not see the need to change his habits just to keep up. For Walken, keeping his lifestyle simple is a point of quiet pride. His identity on the internet is something others create, while he remains a step removed from it, trusting his work rather than his social media footprint to represent him to the world. Even as the digital age continues to grow, and impersonators pop up from time to time, Walken finds contentment in reading a physical script, making phone calls, and keeping his world close and straightforward without the interference or distractions that come from being constantly online, maintaining his own unique brand of privacy and simplicity in a culture where constant connection and instant updates have become the norm. Nevertheless, he stands as a figure who bridges eras, blending old-world charm with fresh, modern sensibilities in a way that captivates every generation. His reputation as a timeless icon is not just a matter of his achievements on the screen, but also how he conducts himself beyond the camera, carrying an effortless elegance and unpredictable wit. Throughout his illustrious career, Walken has defied trends, never seeming dated or out of touch, instead adapting and thriving no matter how the industry changes. Yet, even as many of his peers slow down, he shows no signs of stepping back. His love for performing is so deeply rooted that he once commented on the nature of retirement with characteristic humor, noting that in his world, you don't retire from acting, rather, it retires you. For someone like him, who can't picture a life without the excitement and energy of performance, stepping away is simply not an option. Instead, he keeps moving forward, effortlessly engaging audiences, and remaining relevant by being wholly himself, relying on an innate ability to connect the timeless and the contemporary in every role and encounter. Even as so many people dream of taking it easy in retirement, spending their days traveling or picking up new hobbies, this idea simply does not interest Christopher Walken at all. Instead, he chooses an unusual path, much like the great John Gielgud, who stayed in the spotlight and continued to perform for as long as he could. While others might imagine golf courses or sun-soaked cruises as the reward for a long career, Walken keeps his focus entirely on his work. For him, the script of his own life is every bit as dramatic and unpredictable as those he faces in film and theater. What sets Christopher Walken apart is not only his refusal to slow down but also the mystery and flair that seem to follow him both on camera and in real life. He finds meaning and energy in continuing his craft, never looking for an exit or a finish line. For Walken, each new role is another adventure, another chance to connect with an audience and keep their attention. There is no sign of him stepping back or losing interest, making every new project an extension of the rich and fascinating story of his life. As fans and observers look on, the one thing they can count on is that Walken will surprise them, never choosing the easy way out or a quiet end. Instead, he follows his own path, forever adding new chapters to his story, drawing on a well of experience and charm that never seems to run dry. Capturing the imagination is a way of life for him, and it does not matter what the future may bring, or how typical retirement looks to